okay, part 2. And there's going to be a part 3. The part 2, this is going to be for the men, just the men. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 4 symptoms for the men in this part. And then part 3 will be 4 symptoms for the women. Okay, so today, now I want to talk about the 4 symptoms for delusions for men that they make them believe they're ready for marriage when they're not. The very, very first one I would say is finances. And I know I've harped on this a lot, but as a married guy, I will tell you right out that money is one of the biggest things you guys will talk about, because money is what causes you guys to afford certain things, not afford certain things. It just gives you the ability or capability to do certain things, you know. So it's a limiter. Many times it's a limiter, many times it's an enabler of certain things. So is the guy ready for money? And caveat here, a lot of these I'm going to be talking to girls to counsel them about how to vet the guys, okay? But guys, you got to listen up as well. So make sure you have a handle on your money, on your finances. Why? I don't care how much you know about Calvinism or New Covenant theology. You can articulate every single point of New Covenant theology and articulate TULIP for Calvinism. But if you are always in debt, you're always buried under a mountain of debt, then you are not ready for marriage. Why? Because if you have no self-control, okay, if you have no self-control over something very, very small like finances, about impulse buying, then what makes you believe that you can actually lead your wife when you cannot even lead yourself, right? Come on, let's just be real here. This is real talk, man-to-man talk. I understand if you're buried in debt because there was a medical emergency and you had to take a loan because you had to help with the hospital bills, you know, that's not something you can control, right? But if it's just impulse purchases, if you just don't know how to budget, or you have issues with gambling, things like that, you're not ready for marriage, because you're ruining yourself, you're going to ruin your spouse. Okay, so that's number 1, finances. It's about self-control and discipline, really. It's about your sanctification, right? So don't just think, oh, well, I already know doctrine. No. Okay, so money. Second thing, appeal to community. Appeal to community. When guys say, I want to marry while I'm young, I want to have kids, etc., 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 that's all fine and good. If the reason that they're so confident is because, oh, I've got family and we've got church and this community is going to help us, I would say that that's a red flag. Not saying no right away, but that's a red flag. Why? Because if you appeal to community, it means you're relying on their maturity and not your own. Okay? It's good to trust in the Lord and what the Lord has given you in terms of the people around you. That's good. I'm not saying it's bad. But if your main reason, if one of the biggest factors why you're so confident about marriage and your readiness for marriage is just because you've got a church full of mentors, that's dangerous. Your maturity is exposed and your immaturity is also exposed based on what you're really relying on. And please don't say, I'm relying on God and I have faith that God's going to give me wisdom. No. It sounds great, but your maturity is revealed when you say, I'm relying on the current level of sanctification God has already brought me. I have already come this far by the grace of God. That's why I know I'm ready for marriage. It's just like saying, how do you know that you're ready to have a car? That you're ready to buy a car? It's not because I have faith that, you know, I'm going to pass the driver's test. No, it should be, I have already passed the driver's test. That's when you know you're ready, because you've already passed. Not you believe you will pass. Okay, so that's the difference between foolish, quote-unquote, faith and actual wisdom applied in faith or by faith. All right? So that's one. So I would have to say, when it comes to community, find out, ladies, find out if this guy is actually hanging out with married people. Please, you know, like, and if guys, if you really want to get married and you want to ready yourself for marriage, yes, you're hanging out with the singles, but hang out with the married people as well. Hang out with the men, the married men, the husbands. So girls, find out, is this guy saying, oh, we have a community, we have a church that has a lot of married people who are very mature? Well, is he friends with any of them? Is he close with any of the married dudes? Is he intentionally hanging out with the married guys because he wants to learn from them, and he's got these natural good relationships with them? Or is it more of, well, I'm gonna hang out with them once I'm already married because it's a change of season. Just nah. You can't force friendships and relationships once you're married and you're gonna try to hang out with them. That's not how it works. And believe me when I say this, when people say, oh, I'm gonna change once I get married, that's not true. Okay, many times marriage is a magnifier. It's gonna magnify what you already are. It's not so much gonna change you into what you want to be. Alright? Marriage is a magnifier. Next is transparency. How transparent is this guy? So, ladies, this is something for you to vet. Especially if you're in a church, then you might want to make sure you've got very good relationship with the elders and pastors of your church. And this goes to you ladies as well. Is the person transparent? Is the person truly accountable? I'm not saying he's hanging out with people and he's got some good friendships with some pastors and some elders and some deacons and leaders. I'm not even saying is he himself a deacon or an elder or a pastor. The question is this person truly accountable? So if there's a guy, for example, who tells this girl, hey, I really like you, blah, 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 the best thing the girl could really say is, let me pray about it. And as you pray about it, ladies, you might want to talk to some elders and pastors in your church and ask them, is this guy truly transparent? Is this guy really open about his life? Is this guy talking to you? Is he talking to you out of his own will and initiative, or does he only open up when you guys reach out to him? Is this person willing and openly open, willing and intentionally open about his life to the other men? Because, and ladies, only please ask your elders, your pastors who are trustworthy, and married people. Please don't ask the single people, okay? Please. Singles should not talk to singles about who they're considering, who's considering whom, who's liking who, and who's interested in whom. Just don't do that. If you're single and you want to ask questions, ask the married people, please, okay? For so many reasons I'm not going to get into. But really, women, if a guy shows interest, ask your elders, your pastors, if this guy is truly transparent or not. Men, you have to learn to be transparent while you're still single. Why? And accountable. Why? Because, obviously, if you're not accountable now, you think you're going to be more accountable once you're married, when things are more embarrassing, more shameful, and marriage will expose that you're not as mature as you thought? You're not going to go look for counsel. You're going to hide. And you're going to say, don't bring other people into our marriage issues. Our marriage is between you and me. Therefore, it's going to be between you and me. And don't bring other people into it. That's going to be the attitude. And that's going to just ruin things even more. Okay? Guys, let's just put it this way. When it comes to community, you got to have practical ecclesiology. Okay? And here's the problem. A lot of people in the conservative world, at least from my experience, the people who claim to value marriage so highly enter marriage so lightly. Why is that so inconsistent? You value marriage so highly, but you enter it so lightly. That's just super wrong, okay? The third thing I want to say is this, or the fourth thing, is manipulation. This is a red flag. When guys do the insta courtship, you don't even know each other, and the guy says, I want to go into courtship, blah, 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 and here are my intentions. When a guy just brings out his intentions, lays down his intentions right away, red flag, 3 red flags, I would just say run. Okay, just run. That's the thing. That's just really weird. If you don't know him from Adam, he doesn't know you from Adam, oh, super red flag. Here's the other one. You don't know each other that well yet, and he lays down his intentions, and he says these words. Anything along these lines. These lines are, I hate this. When they say, I want to take things slow. I hate that. That is ultra manipulative. Why? The moment he says he wants to take things slow, he's already taking things fast. Because the moment he says he wants to take things slow, he's defining the relationship, he's expressing his intentions, and he's already giving a time-bound deadline and pressure on the relationship. That's not slow. All these 3 things are factors of fast, not slow. So any guy who says, I want to take things slow, is actually taking things fast while deceiving you into thinking that he wants to take things slow. It's like a guy saying, I'm not slapping you, whoopsh, whoopsh. I'm not slapping you, whoopsh, whoopsh. I'm really not. That's gaslighting. A guy who says, I want to take things slow is gaslighting you. Okay? So, if you're not yet very close with any person, any guy, and then he says he wants to take things slow, that's gaslight. He's taking things fast. That's manipulative. That's deceptive. The only time a guy should say that he wants to take things slow is when he's already asking you for courtship. Okay? So if a guy says, I want to get into courtship with you, and I want to take the courtship slow, now that is fine, provided that he says he wants to enter courtship with you when you've already known each other for quite some time. So let me qualify that. You don't know each other yet at all, and he wants to get into courtship right away. Red flag, run. You know each other for a very short time, and you're not even in courtship, and he says, I want to take things slow. That's already him trying to get into courtship. Run. So, what is reasonable? What's reasonable is when you already know each other for a substantial, significant amount of time. That's case to case, okay? But you know each other quite well. And he says, I want to enter courtship with you, and it's reasonable because you already know each other, okay? And if you say yes to the courtship, I do not want to rush you. I do want to take things slow in the courtship. That's when it becomes reasonable. I hope this was helpful. And of course, feel free to disagree. You know, these are just my thoughts based on what I know from scripture and from biblical principles. God bless you guys, and see you in part 3 for the women's side.